Hana Kim stood at the entrance of Prometheus 7, staring at the massive station that floated in the darkness of space. The Galactic Combat Academy was the largest training facility she had ever seen. Ships from hundreds of different worlds docked at its ports, bringing warriors from across the known universe. She took a deep breath and walked through the entrance doors. The hallway was crowded with aliens of every shape and size. Massive reptilian creatures with scales like armor walked past her. Insect-like beings with multiple arms carried equipment that would take 3 humans to lift. Some aliens had tentacles instead of legs. Others floated in the air without touching the ground. Hana felt small and fragile among them. A 4-armed instructor stopped in front of her group. His skin was dark purple and covered in ridges. His 4 eyes scanned the new arrivals with something that looked like disappointment. "I am Instructor Vexthor," he said in a voice that rumbled like thunder. "Most of you will fail. Some of you will quit. A few of you will die. If you survive my training, you will become warriors worthy of serving in the Galactic Fleet." Hana noticed other alien students staring at the human trainees. Some whispered to each other. Others laughed. She heard one large creature say to another, "Why do they even accept humans? They break so easily." In the dormitory, Hana met her roommate. Mira Choi was a medical student with kind eyes and a gentle smile. "First day?" Mira asked while organizing her medical supplies. "Yes," Hana replied. "You?" "Third year," Mira said. "I work in the medical center. Trust me, you will see me again soon. Everyone does." She paused and looked at Hana carefully. "The instructors push humans harder than other species. They think we need to prove ourselves. Some instructors want us to fail." Hana nodded. She had expected this. Earth had only joined the Galactic Alliance 20 years ago. Humans were still the new species, still untested in the eyes of the galaxy. That evening, she met Taeyang Park in the dining hall. He was tall and quiet, with sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. "You are in Vexthor's combat class?" he asked. "Yes," Hana said. "Me too," Taeyang replied. "I heard only 40% of students survive his training program. Not survive as in stay alive, but survive as in do not quit or get expelled." Another human joined them at the table. His name was Doyen Lee, and he seemed angry about something. "I do not understand why we are here," he said. "Look at them." He pointed at the alien students. "They are bigger, stronger, faster. Some can read minds. Some have armor built into their skin. What do we have? Soft bodies that break easily. We should not even be in combat training." Hana looked at him calmly. "We have something they do not have," she said. "What?" Doyen asked with a harsh laugh. "We know we are weak," Hana answered. "So we learn to be better. They were born for war. We had to invent it, study it, master it just to survive on our own planet. That makes us different." Doyen shook his head and walked away. Taeyang watched him go and then turned to Hana. "Where are you from?" he asked. "Seoul," she said. "The old underground levels. My father taught defensive combat there." "I was Seoul Police Tactical Unit," Taeyang said. "I joined the academy to show the galaxy that humans belong here." He smiled slightly. "I think you joined for the same reason." The first day of training began before dawn. Instructor Vexthor led them to a massive training hall. Obstacle courses stretched across the floor. Climbing walls reached 30 meters high. Combat circles were marked on the ground. "Today we test your bodies," Vexthor announced. "I need to know what you can do before I can teach you what you cannot do yet." The physical assessment was brutal. Alien students moved through obstacles with ease. The reptilian creatures climbed walls with claws that dug into metal. The insect beings used their extra limbs to balance perfectly. The floating species simply drifted over barriers. Humans struggled. They were slower on the sprint courses. They could not climb as fast. They could not lift as much weight. Several human students quit before lunch. Doyen barely finished the course, exhausted and frustrated. But Hana noticed something the instructors did not seem to see. While the aliens were faster in short bursts, humans kept going. The large reptilian students needed rest breaks. The insect beings stopped to catch their breath. But humans just continued, slower but steady, like machines that never turned off. When Vexthor added a second round of the obstacle course, many aliens groaned. Humans just started running again. Hana finished in the middle of the group, not first but never last. She made no complaints. She showed no pain on her face even though her muscles burned. At the end of the day, when other students collapsed, she stood straight and waited for dismissal. Vexthor's 4 eyes focused on her for a moment. Something flickered in his expression, but he said nothing. That night, back in the dormitory, Mira treated cuts and bruises on Hana's arms. "You did well today," Mira said. "I saw the assessment scores. You were the only human who finished every exercise without modification." "Modifications?" Hana asked. "They lower the difficulty for species that cannot complete the standard course," Mira explained. "Most humans need modifications. The instructors say it is fair, that different species have different abilities, but it also means humans are seen as weaker." Hana looked at her bandaged hands. "My father used to say that humans are not built for war," she said quietly. "We do not have claws or armor or venom. We are slow and soft, but we are also stubborn. We do not know when to quit. Every predator on Earth was stronger than us, but we are still here and most of them are gone. We survived because we refused to give up." Mira smiled. "That is a good philosophy for this place." Over the next 3 weeks, training intensified. Vexthor taught them combat theory, weapon systems, tactical planning, and hand-to-hand fighting. Hana absorbed everything like a sponge. She studied while others slept. She practiced movements until they became automatic. She watched how aliens fought and learned their patterns. Other students began to notice her. The alien trainees saw that she never quit, never complained, never fell behind. Some respected this. Others felt threatened by it. Doyen continued to doubt human abilities, but even he could not deny that Hana was proving something important. Taeyang often trained with Hana in the evenings. "You move differently than in the morning," he observed one night. "You are faster now, smoother." "Humans adapt quickly," Hana said. "Our bodies learn. Every day I am a little bit better than yesterday. That is our advantage. We improve." On the 21st day of training, Instructor Vexthor began a lecture on threat assessment and reflexive response. Students sat in rows taking notes on their datapads. The lesson was technical and detailed. Hana sat in the 3rd row, focused on her screen, reading about combat awareness and environmental scanning. She did not see Vexthor's hand move to his belt. She did not see him draw the combat knife. But somewhere in her mind, trained by years of practice and sharpened by 3 weeks of intense focus, something noticed. A change in air pressure, the whisper of metal moving through space, the shift in the room's energy. The knife flew through the air, spinning end over end, aimed directly at Hana's back. Without looking up from her datapad, without turning her head, Hana's hand moved. Her fingers caught the blade between them, stopping it completely. The weapon hung in the air, frozen in her grip. The room went absolutely silent. Hana continued reading for another second, then looked up calmly. "Is class over?" she asked. Instructor Vexthor's mandibles clicked together in what might have been approval or surprise. Every student in the room stared at her with wide eyes, and in that moment everything changed. Nobody moved. The entire class held their breath as Hana lowered the knife to her desk. Her fingers had not even trembled. She placed the weapon down gently and looked at Instructor Vexthor with calm, steady eyes. The instructor walked slowly down the aisle toward her. His forearms hung at his sides. His face was unreadable, but his 4 eyes were locked on Hana. When he reached her desk, he picked up the knife and held it up for the class to see. "This test has been part of my teaching for 30 years, Vexthor said. His voice filled the silent room. "I have administered it to 200 students. Only 7 have ever caught the knife. Most students do not even react before it strikes the wall behind them. Some turn around too late. A few try to dodge and fail. But 7 students caught it." He turned the knife over in his hands. Of those 7, 3 were Krillian warriors with 4 arms and enhanced reflexes. 2 were Prin tacticians with compound eyes that see in all directions. 1 was a Drakon with psychic awareness. 1 was a Velkron with predator instincts bred over millions of years. He paused. Until today, no human had ever caught it. Vexthor looked at Hana directly. "You are the first human. You are also the only student in 30 years who caught it without looking." Murmurs spread through the classroom. Alien students whispered to each other in dozens of languages. Some looked impressed. Others looked suspicious. Doyen sat in the back row with his mouth open in shock. "How did you do it?" asked a Prin student from the front row. His insect eyes reflected light in strange patterns. Hana thought about her answer carefully. "I heard it," she said simply. "I heard the metal leave the instructor's belt." I heard it cut through the air. I felt the air pressure change when it moved past other students. My body reacted before my mind understood what was happening. That is impossible, said a large Velcron student. No species has hearing that precise. Humans do, Hannah replied. On Earth, humans hunted and were hunted for millions of years. We learned to track predators by sound. We learned to sense danger without seeing it. We survived because we could detect threats in darkness, in forests, in places where our eyes were useless. We just never stopped improving that skill. Vexthor nodded slowly. What she says is true. Human sensory evolution is unique in the galaxy. Most species developed one or two enhanced senses. Humans developed adequate ability in all senses, then trained themselves to use those senses better than nature intended. They turned average biology into exceptional skill through practice. He placed the knife back on his belt. Class is not over, he said, answering Hannah's earlier question. It has only truly begun. After class, students crowded around Hannah. Some wanted to know how she trained. Others seemed afraid of her. Taeyang pushed through the crowd and pulled her aside. That was incredible, he said quietly. But you just made yourself a target. Some aliens do not want humans to succeed here. Hannah understood. She had seen the looks on some faces during the knife test. Not admiration, but resentment, fear, anger. I did not mean to show off, she said. My body just reacted. I know, Taeyang said. But be careful anyway. That evening, Hannah sat with Mira in their room. Mira was curious about Hannah's past. Where did you really learn to fight? She asked. That was not normal training. Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. I grew up in the underground levels of Old Seoul. My father ran a defensive combat school there. He taught people how to protect themselves in places where the police could not always reach. I started training when I was 5 years old. She looked at her hands. Father believed that humans survived through awareness and adaptation. He taught me to use all my senses, not just my eyes. He would throw things at me while I was reading or eating. He would make sounds I had to identify. He would change the air temperature in rooms so I could feel differences. By the time I was 15, I could sense everything around me without looking. Mira smiled. Your father sounds like an interesting man. He died 3 years ago, Hannah said softly. He told me before he passed that I should join the Galactic Academy. He said humans needed to prove themselves among the stars, just like we proved ourselves on Earth. I came here to honor his memory. The next few days were different. Instructor Vexthor increased the difficulty of Hannah's exercises. While other students practiced standard drills, he gave her advanced problems to solve. He paired her against larger, stronger opponents in combat training. He seemed to be testing her limits, pushing her harder than anyone else. Doyen watched this with growing frustration. One day after training, he confronted Hannah in the hallway. You made the instructors think humans are special, he said angrily. Now they push all of us harder. Before you caught that knife, they left us alone. Now they expect us to be like you. Being left alone meant being ignored, Hannah replied. It meant they did not think we were worth training properly. Would you rather be dismissed as weak or challenged to become stronger? Doyen had no answer. He walked away, but his resentment remained visible on his face. Not all reactions were negative. A massive Velcron warrior named Grath approached Hannah after combat class. He was 3 times her size, with scales like armor and claws that could tear through metal. I watched you fight today, he rumbled in his deep voice. You are small and weak by my species' standards, but you move well. You think before you strike. Among my people, we say the best warriors are not the strongest, but the smartest. Perhaps humans understand this. It was the first time an alien student had spoken to Hannah with genuine respect. She bowed her head slightly. Thank you. Grath's eyes narrowed in what might have been a smile. I look forward to fighting beside you one day, small human. You have the spirit of a survivor. Meanwhile, Instructor Vexthor called Hannah to his office after evening training. The room was sparse and functional, with weapons mounted on the walls and training data displayed on screens. He gestured for her to sit. You wonder why I threw the knife at you, he said. It was not a question. Yes, Instructor, Hannah admitted. Vexthor was silent for a moment, his 4 eyes studying her face. I have trained warriors for 40 years. I have seen students with incredible natural abilities fail. I have seen physically weak students become legends. The difference is never physical strength. It is always mental strength, confidence, trust in oneself. He leaned forward. That knife test was not about reflexes. Any student with fast hands can catch a thrown object if they are ready for it. The test was about trust. When I threw that knife, you were not ready. You were reading. You were distracted, but some part of you trusted your training, trusted your instincts, trusted yourself enough to react without thinking. Hana began to understand. You wanted to know if I would freeze or trust my abilities. Exactly, Vexthor said. Most students freeze when surprised. They doubt themselves. They overthink. But you reacted with pure instinct. That is the mark of a true warrior. Someone who has practiced so much that their body knows what to do without the mind interfering. He stood and walked to the window overlooking the training halls. Humans are at a disadvantage in this academy. You are weaker than most species. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced senses. But you have something else. Something dangerous, what? Hana asked. Vexthor turned to face her. You refuse to accept your limitations. Every other species knows what they can and cannot do. Their biology defines their ceiling. But humans? Humans look at their ceiling and decide to break through it. You train harder. You think deeper. You adapt faster. It is frustrating to fight against because there is no upper limit to human stubbornness. He picked up a data tablet. The Galactic Fleet's most decorated soldier is a human. The best tactical minds in the Alliance include 3 humans. Human engineers solve problems other species consider impossible. This is why some aliens fear you. They fear what humans will become if given time and opportunity. Hana felt the weight of his words. Is that why some instructors want us to fail? Yes, Vexthor said honestly. There are those who believe the galaxy belongs to species who were born strong. They do not like the idea that weak species can become strong through effort. They see humans as a threat to the natural order. He set down the tablet and looked directly at Hana. That knife test made you visible. Some will respect you for it. Others will resent you. Be careful, Hana Kim. Excellence makes enemies. Hana stood and bowed. I understand, instructor. Thank you for the warning. As she left his office, Hana thought about her father's words. We survived because we refused to give up. She walked back to her dormitory with her head high and her senses alert, ready for whatever came next. 2 weeks after the knife test, Instructor Vexthor made an announcement that changed everything. The entire class gathered in the main hall as he explained the next phase of their training. The hunt simulation is a tradition of this academy, he said, his voice echoing off the metal walls. For 1 month you will survive on Theta 9, a hostile moon. You will work in mixed species teams. You will complete objectives. You will eliminate opposing teams using training weapons. Those who fail will be removed from advanced combat training. A hologram appeared above the instructor's head, showing a dark moon covered in twisted forests and jagged mountains. The surface looked dangerous, even from space. Theta 9 has extreme temperatures, Vexthor continued. The flora is poisonous. The fauna is aggressive. Students have died during this simulation. Do not treat it as a game. Hana felt her heart beat faster. This was what she had trained for. A chance to prove herself in real conditions, not just in a training hall. Team assignments appeared on screens around the room. Hana read her name and felt her stomach tighten. She was assigned as squad leader. Her team included Grath, the massive Velcron warrior she had spoken with before. There was also a Prin tactician named Kree, whose insect features made his expressions hard to read. The 4th member was Taeyang Park, her human friend. After the announcement, Grath approached Hana. His huge form cast a shadow over her. A human as squad leader, he said slowly. This will be interesting. Kree's compound eyes reflected light as he studied Hana. No disrespect, but humans have limited experience in command. Why were you chosen? I do not know, Hana admitted honestly. But I will do my best to keep us all alive and successful. Taeyang smiled slightly. That is all anyone can ask. Before deployment, Instructor Vexthor pulled Hana aside again. They stood in an empty corridor while other students prepared their equipment. Do you know why I made you squad leader? He asked. No, instructor, Hana said. Because leadership is not about being the strongest or the fastest, Vexthor explained. It is about making decisions that keep everyone alive while completing the mission. Grath is stronger than you. Kree is smarter in some ways. But you have something they lack. You understand that survival requires adaptation, not domination. He placed one of his four hands on her shoulder. That knife test was not just about reflexes, it was about trust. You trusted yourself. Now you must trust your team and they must trust you. Remember that on Theta 9. The transport ship took them to the moon's surface. As Hana stepped off the landing ramp, she immediately felt the harsh environment. The air was thin and cold. Strange plants with sharp edges grew everywhere. In the distance, something howled with a sound that made her spine tingle. 20 teams were deployed across different zones of the moon. Each team carried survival gear, training weapons that delivered painful but non-lethal shocks, and communication devices. The rules were simple. Complete 3 objectives marked on your map. Eliminate other teams when you encounter them. Survive until the extraction at the end of the month. The first 3 days were difficult. The team struggled to work together. Grath wanted to use direct force for everything. Kree wanted to plan every detail before taking action. Taeyang deferred to Hana's decisions, but the aliens questioned her constantly. On the 3rd night, as they camped in a cave, Kree voiced his frustration. "We should have reached the first objective by now. Your cautious approach is slowing us down." Hana looked at the tactical map on her datapad. 2 teams have already been eliminated. Both were moving fast and aggressive. They walked into ambushes. Speed without awareness gets you killed. "The Velcron believes we should attack other teams immediately," Kree said, gesturing to Grath. "Eliminate the competition early." Grath nodded his massive head. "It is the warrior way." "It is also predictable," Hana replied. "Everyone expects the big, strong teams to attack first. So other teams are prepared for that. We need to be smarter." Taeyang spoke up. "What do you suggest?" Hana studied the map carefully. "We move at night. We avoid direct confrontation. We complete our objectives quietly. While other teams fight each other, we gain points. When they are tired and wounded from fighting, then we strike." Kree's antennae twitched. "Guerrilla tactics. Avoiding battle until the advantage is clearly ours." "Exactly," Hana said. "We do not need to be the strongest team. We need to be the smartest team." Grath growled low in his throat. "This is not honorable combat." "This is not about honor," Hana said firmly. "This is about winning, about survival. My species learned long ago that the strongest predator does not always survive. The smartest survivor does." On the 4th day, another team ambushed them near a river. 8 warriors from different species attacked from the trees. They had superior numbers and better positions. Most teams would have tried to fight directly or retreat immediately. Hana did neither. "Scatter," she ordered. "Regroup at checkpoint 7. The team split in 4 directions. The ambushers hesitated, unsure which target to pursue. That moment of confusion was enough. Hana led 2 enemies away from her teammates, running through the twisted forest with them close behind. She ran for hours. The aliens were faster in short sprints, but Hana just kept going. She did not slow down. She did not stop. Every time they got close, she found a new burst of speed, a new direction to turn. She ran through streams, over rocks, under branches. She ran until her legs burned and her lungs felt like fire. After 6 hours, one of her pursuers gave up. After 10 hours, the second one collapsed from exhaustion. Hana did not stop. She kept running until she reached checkpoint 7, where her team was waiting. Taeyang looked amazed. "You ran for 12 hours straight." Hana bent over, breathing hard but still standing. "Humans are persistence hunters. On Earth, we used to chase animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We are not fast, but we do not stop. Ever." Grath stared at her with new respect in his eyes. "I could not have run for 12 hours. No Velcron could." "That is our advantage," Hana explained between breaths. "We outlast everyone else." Over the next 2 weeks, Hana's strategy proved effective. They avoided major battles but completed objectives efficiently. When they did fight, it was on their terms, when they had advantage. Hana used human endurance tactics to wear down opponents. She would harass enemy teams for days without rest, never allowing them to sleep properly, always keeping them alert and tired. Kree began to understand her approach. "You are not trying to win battles," he observed. You are trying to break their will to fight. Exactly, Hana said. A tired, frustrated enemy makes mistakes. We wait for those mistakes, then we strike. By the third week, only 6 teams remained. Hana's squad had eliminated 3 teams and completed all their objectives. They were ranked second in the overall standings. But something was wrong. Hana noticed inconsistencies. Equipment failures that should not happen. Map data that did not match the terrain. Native predators that seemed to be driven toward human trainees more than other species. She mentioned this to Taiyang during a night watch. You think someone is sabotaging the simulation? He asked quietly. I think someone is targeting humans specifically, Hana said. Look at the pattern. 5 human trainees have been eliminated due to equipment failures. My compass stopped working yesterday. Your water purifier broke 2 days ago. This is not random. Taeyang frowned. What do we do? We survive, Hana said simply. And we watch carefully. On the 25th day, Hana went on a nighttime reconnaissance mission alone. She moved silently through the dark forest, her enhanced hearing picking up every sound. That was when she heard voices speaking in a language she did not recognize. She crept closer, staying in shadows. 2 figures stood in a clearing, both wearing equipment that marked them as academy staff, not students. They spoke in low tones, but Hana's trained ears caught some words. She heard humans, elimination, and failure rate. Her blood ran cold. Someone in the academy administration was sabotaging human students. This was not just poor equipment or bad luck. This was deliberate. Hana recorded their conversation on her datapad and carefully retreated. When she returned to camp, she found Instructor Vexthor waiting there. Her team looked confused. The instructor had arrived by emergency transport. You heard them, Vexthor said. It was not a question. Yes, Instructor, Hana replied. There are staff members sabotaging human trainees. Vexthor's mandibles clicked together. I know. I have been investigating for 3 weeks. I needed proof. I needed them to reveal themselves through their actions, and I needed a human to succeed despite their interference. He looked at Hana directly. The knife test was part of this. When you caught it, when you showed exceptional ability, they marked you as their primary target. Every equipment failure your team experienced was intentional. They wanted you to fail. Hana felt anger rising in her chest. Why? Because they fear what humans represent, Vexthor said. Change, evolution. The idea that weakness can become strength through effort. There is a faction in this academy that believes only naturally strong species deserve to lead. They see humans as a threat to that belief. Taiyang stepped forward. What happens now? Vexthor was silent for a moment. You have a choice. I can extract you now. We expose the conspiracy with the evidence we have, or you can complete the simulation, prove beyond. The predators came at dawn. Hana heard them before she saw them. Massive creatures that moved through the forest like shadows. They were called Rippers, native to Theta 9, normally kept in controlled zones far from the simulation areas. Each one was 3 meters tall with claws like swords and teeth designed to tear through armor. How many? Taeyang asked, checking his weapon. Hana closed her eyes and listened carefully. 6, no, 7. They are circling our position. Grath hefted his training weapon. These will barely slow them down. Training weapons are not designed to stop real predators. Kree's antennae twitched nervously. We need a plan. Direct combat is suicide. Hana's mind raced through possibilities. The Rippers were too strong to fight directly. Running would not work, because they were faster than any species in her team. They needed something else. Instructor Vexthor, she said. Can you contact the other remaining teams? Vexthor nodded. Yes. Emergency channels are open now. Do it, Hana ordered. Tell them we need to work together. All remaining teams unite at the Central Valley. We cannot survive separately, but together we might have a chance. The instructor's 4 eyes studied her. You want to unite competing teams? Competition does not matter if we are all dead, Hana replied. Tell them that. Within an hour, the 3 remaining teams gathered in the Central Valley. Besides Hana's squad, there was a team led by a Krillian warrior named Vexatal, and another led by a Prin commander called Zin. 15 warriors total, representing 8 different species. Vexatal, who was the same species as Instructor Vexathor, looked at Hana with distrust. Why should we follow a human's plan? Humans are the weakest here. Hana did not rise to the bait. Because my plan is the only one that keeps everyone alive. You can fight separately and die separately, or we can fight together and survive. Zin, the Prin commander, clicked his mandibles. What is your plan, human? Hana pulled out her datapad and showed them the tactical map. The Rippers are pack hunters. They surround and overwhelm their prey, but they rely on fear and confusion. We take away both advantages. She pointed to terrain features on the map. This valley has high walls on 3 sides. We position ourselves here with our backs protected. The Rippers can only attack from one direction. We create layers of defense. Taeyang added details. First layer, the strongest warriors hold the line. Second layer, tactical specialists provide support. Third layer, anyone with technical skills works on upgrading our training weapons. They are not designed to kill, but maybe we can modify them to deliver stronger shocks. Grath nodded slowly. It could work. We eliminate their numerical advantage by controlling the battlefield. There is more, Hana said. Humans have another advantage. We do not tire as quickly as other species. While you hold the defensive line in shifts, humans will run harassment missions. We keep the Rippers confused, divided, unable to mount a coordinated attack. Vexatal still looked skeptical. This is a strange plan. Most warriors would suggest an aggressive assault. Most warriors would die, Hana replied bluntly. This is not about honor or glory. This is about survival. Do you want to live or do you want to look brave while dying? The Krillian warrior's mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh. You speak plainly for someone so small. Very well. We will try your plan. The teams worked together to prepare defenses. They used equipment from their survival gear to create barriers. Kree and the other technical specialists worked on modifying the training weapons, increasing their power output beyond safety limits. It was dangerous and might cause the weapons to explode, but they had no choice. Hana organized the defensive positions. Grath and other large warriors formed the front line. Medium-sized fighters created the second layer. Ranged specialists positioned themselves on the valley walls. It was not perfect, but it was the best they could do with limited resources and time. As night fell, the Rippers attacked. They came in a wave of claws and teeth, howling with sounds that shook the ground. The front line held, barely. Grath fought with fury, his training weapon crackling with enhanced electrical charge. Vextal used all 4 arms to wield multiple weapons simultaneously. Other warriors fought with everything they had, but the Rippers were relentless. For every meter the defenders held, they paid in injuries and exhaustion. After 2 hours of continuous combat, the line began to weaken. That was when Hana put the second part of her plan into action. She and Taeyang, along with 2 other human trainees who had joined from other teams, left the defensive position through a hidden path. They circled behind the Ripper pack. Remember the training, Hana said quietly. We are not trying to kill them. We are trying to distract them. The humans ran into the darkness, making noise, throwing rocks, firing their weapons in bursts. The Rippers' attention divided. Some turned to chase these new threats. Hana led them on a chase through the forest, using every trick she knew. She ran for hours, never stopping, always staying just ahead of the predators. When the Rippers grew tired of chasing her, she circled back and attacked them from a new direction. She gave them no rest, no time to organize. It was the same persistence, hunting strategy humans had used for millions of years, but applied to warfare instead of hunting. By dawn, the Rippers were confused and tired. The coordinated pack had become scattered individuals. That was when Hana signaled for the final push. The defensive forces advanced from the valley while the human runners drove the Rippers toward them. Caught between two forces and exhausted from hours of continuous harassment, the predators broke and fled. The battle was over. 15 warriors stood tired but alive, surrounded by broken equipment and scorch marks. They had survived something that should have killed them all. Vextal approached Hana, breathing heavily. "Your strategy worked, human. You saved all our lives." "We saved our lives," Hana corrected. "Together." But there was no time to celebrate. Instructor Vexthor arrived with Academy security forces. Behind them came administrators, including a Draxian official named Kreltok. Hana recognized him as one of the voices she had heard during her reconnaissance. "This simulation has been compromised," Vexthor announced. "All students are being extracted immediately." Kreltok stepped forward, his scaled face showing false concern. "A terrible accident. Equipment malfunctions released dangerous predators. We are investigating." Hana could not stay quiet. "This was not an accident," she said loudly. "This was sabotage. Deliberate targeting of human students." The Draxian's eyes narrowed. "Careful, trainee. Accusations require evidence." Hana pulled out her datapad. "I have evidence. Recorded conversations between Academy staff discussing elimination of human trainees. Equipment failure patterns that only affected humans. Predator releases timed to target human positions." She held up the device. "Everything is documented." Kreltok's expression changed from false concern to open hostility. "That evidence is fabricated. A desperate attempt by a failing student to explain poor performance." "I do not think so," Instructor Vexthor said coldly. He stepped beside Hana. "I have been conducting my own investigation for 2 months. I have testimony from equipment technicians who were ordered to sabotage human gear. I have communication logs showing coordination between multiple staff members. And I have this recording from Hana Kim, which identifies you specifically, Administrator Kreltok." The security forces moved to surround the Draxian administrator. Kreltok's scales flushed dark with anger. "You cannot prove anything. Humans are weak. They do not belong in combat training. I was simply ensuring the standards of this academy remain high." "By attempting murder?" Vexthor's voice was like ice. "By releasing lethal predators into a training exercise. By sabotaging equipment that students rely on for survival." Other students had gathered now, listening to everything. Grath stepped forward, his massive form towering over the administrator. "The human led us all to victory against those predators. She showed more leadership than any naturally strong warrior here. If that is weakness, then I prefer weakness to your version of strength." Zin, the Prin commander, clicked his mandibles in agreement. "The human's tactics saved 15 lives. What have you done except try to end them?" Kreltok realized he was surrounded by hostile warriors and security forces. His defiance crumbled. "There are others," he said desperately. 12 others who believe as I do. Humans are a threat to the natural order. They must be controlled before they become too powerful. Then you will all face justice together," Vexthor said. He gestured to security. "Take him away." As Kreltok was led away in restraints, the exhausted students began to comprehend what had happened. They had not just survived a training exercise, they had exposed a conspiracy that went deep into the Academy's administration. Back at the medical center, Mira treated injuries while students rested. She found Hana sitting alone, staring at nothing. "You did it," Mira said gently. "You proved humans belong here." Hana looked at her hands. They were cut and bruised from the battle. "I just wanted to survive," she said quietly. "I never meant to become a symbol of anything." "That is what makes you a good symbol," Mira replied. "You did not seek glory. You just refused to quit." Doyen approached them, looking humble for the first time since training thought we were too weak to compete. But weakness is not about physical strength. 3 months after the events on Theta 9, the investigation concluded. Kreltok and his 12 co-conspirators were expelled from the Academy and faced criminal charges. The Galactic Council demanded a full review of training procedures. Most importantly, they requested testimony from those who survived the sabotaged simulation. Instructor Vexthor stood before the military committee in a massive chamber that held representatives from 400 worlds. The session was broadcast live across the galaxy. Billions watched as the Krillian instructor spoke about what he had witnessed. "I have trained warriors for 40 years. Vexthor began, his forearms folded in a gesture of formality. "I have seen students from 89 different species pass through my courses. Each species brings unique advantages. Krillians have 4 arms and enhanced reflexes. Velkrons have natural armor and predator instincts. Prin have compound eyes that see in multiple directions. Draxians have psionic abilities. Each species is magnificent in its own way." He paused, letting his words settle across the chamber. "But humans are different. They are not the strongest. They are not the fastest. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced senses beyond what training provides. By every physical measure, they should be the weakest warriors in the galaxy." Representatives murmured among themselves. Some nodded in agreement. Others waited to hear where this testimony would lead. "Yet humans possess something that transcends physical advantage," Vexthor continued. "They possess the refusal to accept limitation. Where other species see a wall, humans see something to climb. Where other species see defeat, humans see a problem to solve. This is not stubbornness born of ignorance. This is adaptation made conscious, evolution that happens within a single lifetime through training and will." He activated a holographic display showing footage from the Theta 9 simulation. The committee watched as Hana led the unified teams against the Rippers. They saw her run for 12 hours straight, outlasting pursuers who were naturally faster but could not maintain her endurance. They saw her catch a thrown knife without looking. "This is not exceptional for a human," Vexthor explained. "This is what humans do. They take average biology and transform it through relentless practice into something extraordinary. They are persistence made flesh. Every predator on their homeworld was more dangerous than them, yet humans survived and those predators did not. That same persistence now serves them among the stars." A Draxian representative stood. "Are you suggesting humans are superior to other species?" "No," Vexthor replied firmly. "I am suggesting humans are equal to other species, but through a different path. Natural strength and learned strength are both valid. The conspiracy we uncovered was rooted in the false belief that only natural advantage matters. That belief is dangerous because it dismisses the power of choice, training, and determination." He looked directly at the cameras broadcasting his words. "Humans remind us that we are not prisoners of our biology, that we can become more than we were born to be. This is not a threat. This is inspiration." The testimony lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the military committee voted unanimously to implement new policies protecting all trainees from discrimination based on biological capabilities. The case became known across the galaxy as the Theta 9 Protocols. Back at the academy, graduation day arrived. The ceremony was larger than usual, with media covering the event and representatives from dozens of worlds attending. 24 human students graduated with honors, more than any previous year. Hana Kim stood among them, wearing the formal uniform of an academy graduate. Admiral Shen, a human who commanded a sector fleet, gave the graduation address. 10 years ago, I was the only human in my graduating class," she said. "I faced doubt from instructors and hostility from peers. But I also found allies who judged me by my actions, not my biology. Today I see 24 humans graduating. In 10 more years, I expect to see 200. Not because humans are superior, but because humans are finally being given the chance to prove themselves equal." After the ceremony, Hana was approached by academy administrators with an offer. They wanted her to join the training staff as an assistant instructor for the next intake of students. She would be the youngest instructor in academy history and the first human to hold the position. "I do not know if I am ready for this," Hana admitted to Instructor Vexthor later that day. They stood in the now empty training hall where he had thrown the knife at her months ago. "No instructor is ever ready," Vexthor replied. "We learn to teach by teaching. You have something valuable to offer. You understand what it means to be underestimated. You understand the power of persistence. These are lessons students need." He reached into his belt and pulled out the combat knife, the same one Hana had caught. He handed it to her carefully. "This is yours now. A reminder that class is never over, for any of us. We are always learning, always improving, always adapting." Hana accepted the knife with both hands. It was heavier than she remembered. "What if I fail?" Then you learn from failure and try again, Vexthor said simply. That is the human way, is it not? Hana's friends gathered for a farewell dinner that evening. Taeyang had accepted a position in Galactic Fleet Intelligence. Mira was promoted to Chief Medical Officer of the Academy's Trauma Center. Even Doyun stayed for an advanced training year. His attitude completely changed by the events on Theta 9. Grath arrived with a gift, a Velcrin war blade traditionally given to warriors of exceptional skill. You taught me that strength comes in many forms, the massive warrior rumbled. I requested assignment to human-led units. They make war interesting. Kree, the Prin tactician, clicked his mandibles in approval. Human tactics are now being studied in advanced strategy courses. Your approach to the Theta 9 crisis has become required learning material. 6 months passed. The Academy's new intake arrived, including dozens of human recruits nervous about their first days. Hana watched them from the instructor's platform, remembering how she felt standing in their position not long ago. One recruit caught her attention, a young man named Jiho Kang. He looked uncertain, surrounded by larger alien students who seemed to tower over him. She saw in his eyes the same doubt she had felt. The same question, do I belong here? Hana began her first class with a lecture on threat assessment and reflexive response. The students took notes unaware of what was coming. She spoke about awareness, about using all senses, about trusting trained instincts over conscious thought. Then, without warning, while Jiho was focused on his datapad, Hana drew the knife from her belt and threw it. The blade spun through the air, aimed directly at the young man's back. The class froze. Some students gasped, but Jiho's hand moved faster than thought, catching the knife between 2 fingers. He did not look up from his datapad immediately. When he finally turned to face Hana, his expression was calm. Did I pass? He asked. The class erupted in amazed whispers. Hana walked down the aisle and retrieved the knife from Jiho's hand. She examined his grip, noting the precise positioning of his fingers, the steadiness of his hand. Where did you learn to do that? She asked. My instructor back on Earth, Jiho replied. She taught defensive combat in the underground levels of Old Soul. She said awareness is the first weapon and the last defense. Hana felt something shift in her chest. Her father's teaching, passed through her to others, now returned from a student she had never met. Quietly, she turned to address the entire class. What you just witnessed is not about physical ability. It is about training, about practice, about refusing to accept that your biology defines your limits. She held up the knife for everyone to see. This knife has been caught by 9 students over 30 years. 8 of them had natural advantages, enhanced reflexes, multiple arms, psychic awareness, but 2 of them were human and both caught. She pointed to Jiho. This student is human. He has no natural combat advantages, but he trained. He practiced. He prepared. When the moment came, his body knew what to do because his mind had taught it well. She looked around the room. That is the lesson. Not that humans are special, but that any species can become more through dedication. A Krillian student raised one of her 4 hands. Instructor, are you saying that training can overcome natural disadvantages? I am saying that natural advantage is not permanent, Hana replied. It is a starting point, not a destination. A Krillian has 4 arms at birth. A human has 2, but a human who trains for 10 years may use those 2 arms more effectively than a Krillian who relies only on natural ability. This is true for all of us, regardless of species. She walked back to the instructor's platform. Class is never over. Remember that. The moment you stop learning, stop training, stop improving, you begin to fall behind. Not behind other species, but behind your own potential. After class, Jiho approached Hana. My instructor from Old Soul, he said carefully. Her name was Hana Kim. Everyone said she left Earth to join the Galactic Academy. Is that you? Hana was surprised. I never had students before I left Earth. I only trained with my father. You might not remember me, Jiho explained. I was 8 years old. I watched you train in your father's school. After you left, your father taught us about you. He said his daughter went to prove that humans belong to Amo,